This is Pastor Davis' Daily Bread. Today's chapter is Numbers 25. It can be divided into four. First, verse 1 to 6. The Israelites indulge in sexual immorality with Moabite women. The Israelites indulge in sexual immorality with Moabite women. Verse 7 to 10. Phinehas rises up with the zeal for God. Phinehas rises up with the zeal for God. Third, verse 11 to 13. Phinehas makes the covenant of a lasting priesthood. Phinehas makes the covenant of a lasting priesthood. Fourth, verse 14 to 18. Obscene leaders Zimri and Cosby. Obscene leaders Zimri and Cosby. So today's chapter 25 is about the process of secularization of the Israelites just before they enter the land of Canaan in Shittim. And also it describes the result of the secularization of the people. The land Shittim is the place just before the land of Canaan, which is just next to the land of Canaan. And before they entered the land, the people got spiritually complacent and they adopted and received the secular culture and values of the land. So verse 1 to 2, let's read them. While Israel was staying in Shittim, the men began to indulge in sexual immorality with Moabite women, who invited them to the sacrifices to their gods. So the Moabite women invited the people of Israel to the sacrifices to their gods, so which is the secular culture of the land. And the Israelites adopted the waves of secularization. We had the sad event in Korea during the holidays, during the Halloween. And Halloween culture is definitely the Satan spirit, and of which result is the death. So it has been told that we need to follow the waves of the world, the culture. We need to follow them in order to be the decent person and also trendy, the society members. That was the wrong understanding. Anything that has the feature of the sin, we need to remove them from our life. So we need to set this standard that anything that has the form of the sin, we need to remove them. Let's go to verse 6. Then an Israelite man brought into the camp a Midianite woman right before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel while they were weeping at the entrance to the tent of the meeting. So the leader of the Israelites committed the adulterous sin that they had the sexual intercourse with the Midianite woman. And verse 7, when Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw this, he left the assembly, took a spear in his hand, and verse 8, followed the Israelites into the tent. He drove the spear into both of them, right through the Israelites' men and into the woman's stomach. Then the plague against the Israelites was stopped. That because of the behavior, because of Phinehas, what Phinehas did, to stop the sin among the Israelites. Verse 11, from verse 11, God made a covenant of a lasting priesthood with Phinehas. Verse 11, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, has turned my anger away from the Israelites. Since he was as zealous for my honor among them as I am, I did not put an end to them in my zeal. Verse 12, therefore, tell him I'm making my covenant of peace with him. He and his descendants will have a covenant of a lasting priesthood because he was zealous for me, for the honor of his God, and made atonement for the Israelites. So why did God make the covenant of a lasting priesthood? Because of the zeal in him for God. Let's look at verse Psalm 106, verse 28 to 31. Psalm 106, verse 28 to 31. Let me read. They yoked themselves to the bowl of Peor and ate sacrifices offered to lifeless gods. They aroused the Lord's anger by their wicked deeds, and a plague broke out among them. But Phinehas stood up and intervened, and the plague was checked. This was credited to him as righteousness for endless generations to come. God, because of this, God made a covenant with Phinehas, and he did not accept the culture of the world, and God wants us to be separated from the worldly values and culture. So when we decide something, we need to set the criteria whether God will be pleased with this or not. Whether if I do this, if I eat this, if I drink this, or if I go there, will God be pleased with this or not? This should be our criteria for our decision. Also, let's read Rome chapter 12, verse 1 to 2. Rome chapter 12, verse 1 to 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. We shouldn't follow the secular culture, and we need to have the holy discernment. We need to stand up as the man of God with this holy standard. And if we have such holy standard, and then we will maybe will maybe have some problems with your work because of your standard, because of your holy standard. But what we have to have is not to conform the value of the world, but to have the ability, the skills, and also the humble attitude, and make them as our competitiveness rather than following the trend of the world. So in conclusion, the Israelites, before they entered the land of the promise, they committed the sin because they accepted the secular culture, and they failed. They committed the sin. So our final sentence is that we shouldn't depend on our emotion to make decisions, but we need to ask ourselves whether God will be pleased with this or not. This should be our standard and criteria for our decision. This is the end of the guide message.